Today's episode is brought to you by Fretboard Biology, the comprehensive online guitar course put together by Joe Elliott. Now, Joe is not only a fantastic guitar player, he draws on his years of experience as the ex-head of guitar at the Guitar Institute of Technology and also at the McNally Smith Music College. Here's a few words from Joe about the course.
If you're tired of wading through hundreds of random guitar videos and just want to become a better player, Fretboard Biology is your answer. Fretboard Biology is a self-paced, college-level program that'll give you the right instruction, in the right amounts, and in the right order. You'll learn the same information I taught to thousands of other guitar players over 30 years of teaching in top music colleges. If you want to make real progress with your guitar playing, then sign up for a free 7-day trial at fretboardbiology.com.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Guitar Speak podcast. My name's Matt Wakeling and welcome to episode number 200. Now, it is almost 6 years to the day that I launched the show, and it is really nice to get to episode 200. What I think is even cooler is that my guest today is Joe Satriani. I was super stoked to talk to Satch. I've been a fan of his since surfing in the late 80s. Now, Joe has sold over 10 million albums as an instrumental rock guitarist, which is amazing. He's had multiple Grammy nominations. He's a guitar teacher to the stars such as Steve Vai, Kirk Hammett, Alex Skolnick, and plenty of other household names in the world of guitar playing. He's the founder of the amazing G3 concert tours. He's got a few Ibanez signature guitars. In fact, today we speak about a new signature model that's on its way too, which is super cool. Of course, we're talking about Joe's 19th solo album, which has just launched this weekend, The Elephants of Mars. It's an amazing album. Also features an Australian, Ray Thistlethwaite, on the record. So we talk about the record, we talk about getting Ray involved, and Joe's drive just to keep growing and developing as a musician and a composer. It was a great honour to have Joe on the show, so let's jump straight into that conversation. Wow, so great to meet you, Joe. Thanks so much for your time today.
You're very welcome.
What an exciting weekend for you. There's a lot going on. The launch of The Elephants of Mars. That's got to be an exciting time.
I know. I can't believe it right here. It's amazing.
That looks awesome. That looks great. Joe, I've been a fan for a long time. I saw your first tour here to Australia back in 1990. I saw your last tour in 2018 and some other times in between. But I guess my first question, this new album, it's obviously a very fresh chapter. I want to know how, after so many years of making instrumental music, how do you keep finding new avenues to explore as a guitar player and as a composer?
Oh, well, to tell you the truth, there's so many avenues I want to explore musically. It's really hard to pick one. But it does help to lean on my experience making albums, to know that there is a discipline or several that you need to apply to get something like a record done, and that means really deciding at the moment, what is it that you really like? What do you feel you really must explore emotionally? And that works for me because I know I play my best when I've got a real investment in the story behind every single song. Mm-hmm. And so I just thought, okay, that's what I'll do. This time the record's going to be better compositions, better arrangements, better guitar sounds, better guitar playing. And I'm just going to write about everything. And I'm not going to let any style stop me from expressing myself. And those were my marching orders, so to speak.
That's great. There's a great quote that you've shared. And I'll read it out, and I'd like you to reflect on it. You wrote, "I want to show people that an instrumental guitar album can contain far more creative and entertaining elements than I think people are using right now." Can you explain what that looks like for you, and perhaps particularly on this record?
Well, I think it was really directed at myself in that I wanted to create a higher standard for a Joe Satriani album. But I also noticed that instrumental records are made now to go into lots of different contexts. And so, like, if I was 16 and trying to break on the scene, I'd be shredding every day for Instagram. You know, that's what you do to get people to notice how good you are. Perfect. But I'm not that guy, you know. People around the world kind of know who I am. I've sold millions of records of the same kind of stuff, instrumental rock guitar. And so it was important for me to think in my world, like, I need to raise the standard here. And it can never be about demonstration, because I'm already here. People already know me. There's no demonstration or explanation needed. What I need to do is deliver something really fantastic, much richer in musical experience than ever before, because I should have accumulated after all these years. Somebody who's been around for a while might think, I need to catch up. I need to compete. But actually, that's a misnomer. That's not a good observation of what's really happening, because your audience out there are the smartest group of people ever, and they see through every move that you're going to try to make. So only, you know, be truthful and bring your story to the album, your story to the guitar, to the strings, to the fretboard. And in that way, at least they know they can trust you, you know, with the story that you're telling them. They already know you can play guitar, you know, and they're going to decide whether they like it or not. And you can't change their minds about that. So once you get through all those funny, emotional, psychological hurdles, you realize you have a lot of work ahead of you. But at least it's a straight line. You know what your goal is and how to attain it.
Is there a particular song on the album? I guess all of them, all 14, will express what you've just told us now. But is there a particular song or part on the album that you could frame in those terms, so that went through some of these metamorphoses or the process for you to deliver, as you say, rather than demonstrate?
Well, I would say that the album as a whole, because that was one of the things I really wanted to do, was to leave my friends on social media where they are, to not invade what they're doing, which is really short bursts of brilliance, you know. And I also didn't want to compete in the world of pop music, which is really singles oriented, and I thought, I enjoy that it's there and those people do that great, but it's not me. What I want to do is I want to make an album. I've always loved making albums as a full statement. So to me, that the whole thing is my answer to your question. You know what I mean? I know like that there was 200 versions of each song at some point as I was making the record. So my memory is based on the experience of hearing every different version before you got to hear the final version. So in a way, it excludes me from commenting properly on your question. But I can say, when I step back in these last few days, when the pieces started to arrive, actually in the world, for once, I realized, wow, it's a full statement. And that's really what my art form is. That's what I love doing, is being able to put a bunch of songs together that, although they may stylistically be different, I think my fans can hear that there's this central message about wanting to reach them and tell them my story as a human being on the planet Earth.
Awesome. There's like I said, I love the album. There's lots of Joe moments. It's obviously Joe playing the guitar, but there's some kind of new little directions, new bits of ear candy I picked up. So I might mention a couple of tracks. Tension and Release, that's in 7. So you're no stranger to Odd Time. I think one of my favorite earlier tunes is Echo, but Tension Release in 7, and there's some really quirky, low-tuned, almost seasick riffs. I love those. What's going on there?
It's so funny how that got started. So I came into the room where a bunch of my guitars were, and I noticed that the 7th string was there, and I hadn't played it in years, literally years. And I was thinking, like, wow, I think the last person to play that was maybe Mike Keneally on some album we were doing. And I pulled it out, and sure enough, the strings were so old, they were kind of wobbly. And I thought, oh, this is really fun. I know they're all trash, but it sounds so funny. And they were maybe a lighter gauge than what I've been playing for the last, I don't know, 8 years or so. And so I plugged it in and I got my recording thing all set up. And I just wrote this riff based on the way that it felt. And I didn't really think about it until I was done with the basic layout of the song. And I thought, well, that's really weird because I wrote it in 7 and in 4/4. I've got these parts.
Yep.
It's the same part, but in 2 different time signatures. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. And then I thought, well, I should double track that. So I went and I learned it. I double tracked it with the same old string guitar. Mm-hmm. And I thought, oh, this is great. And then I sent it off to Eric, my producer. And I said, yes, it's on purpose. the wobbly thing, it's on purpose. And he loved it. And so we went from there basically. But yeah, it started so innocently with me just reacting to that feeling.
Awesome. Eric, you're referring to Eric Cordeaux, who's you've worked with for a lot of years. Yeah. I don't know if Engines of Creations was the first time you worked with Eric. As a co-producer, engineer, and co-writer, yes. Okay. We actually met when we were putting together the first DVD for the very first G3 set of concerts. And Eric was hired by producer Mike Fraser to somehow make sense of all the different live performances from 3 different bands, mm-hmm. and coordinate with everybody, what songs we were going to mix and how they were going to get mixed and all that kind of stuff. So that's where we met. And we knew pretty quickly that we, were on the same wavelength. He's a fantastic left-handed guitar player, is into fusion and stuff like Trevor Horn and with Metallica. And he just, he was one of those editors that was always in demand because he was so musical and technically so adept, So yeah, we did Engines of Creation in his living room. Okay.
In 99.
A few of the tunes on this record I thought were a nice sort of bookend to that record too. A lot of electronic elements, still with your voice very firmly planted in there. I think that's always fun to hear the gear shifts. Your last couple of records have been perhaps a little more straight ahead, rock and roll Joe, which is a great version of Joe as well. So
thank you.
But this record takes things out a little further.
Yeah.
This episode is brought to you by Fretboard Biology, the comprehensive online guitar course put together by Joe Elliott, ex-head of guitar at the Guitar Institute of Technology and the McNally Smith College of Music. I was one of the beta testers for the course and can say as a music educator, I was really impressed by the logical sequence of learning. The course has also been endorsed by players such as Brett Garsed and Greg Koch. For more details, check out the links in our show notes. When you say Eric's got the fusion background, you've also got Ray Thistlethwaite, an Australian, so exciting to see an Aussie on your record. We know him here as a pop star in his band Thirsty Merc. Some of us know him as a killer jazz pianist, and now obviously he's working with you. And how did that come about?
I'm so lucky. I was finishing up the Shapeshifting album, and I wanted to find a new keyboard player, and I was looking on a website, I think it was like Keyboard Magazine or something like that. And they had an article about up and coming keyboard players. And so I'm reading this thing and I get to this guy. So they're showing this guy with really long hair and a beard, and he's playing a 335 playing keyboards. And I'm thinking, okay, that's really great. He's in a rock and roll band. And then I keep scrolling down, and at the end of the article, they have a bunch of other related videos. And one of them is a Lewis Cole video that I knew I'd been watching for the last few weeks. And I thought, well, what's that guitar player got to do with the Lewis Cole? So I went and I watched it again, and I'm watching the video, and I go, oh my God, that keyboard player with the short hair, stuck in the corner of the stairwell, that's Ray too. And I just thought that's too good to be true, So I did some research. I found that his manager was in Los Angeles. So I gave him a shout, and I said, I got to play with your client. Please, like, ask him if he's would be into playing with a crazy old American guitar player, you know. And so we started there, and then I started sending him stuff, and he would just like send back solos and textures and different ideas, and you know, the whole record was done remotely. So that's how we had to work, but it was fascinating, just fascinating to watch him add his brilliance to these songs.
That's so good. You've your bands over the years, you've had some incredible musicians from the original, you know, the Jonathan Mover, Stu Ham trio days. I could go on all day, but I guess the question is though, what do you look for in a musician for a recording or touring or both?
Well, I'm looking for someone who is obviously, you know, musically competent in their given style. They don't have to be virtuosos in all styles. They just have to have something that they're really great at, that they're passionate about and they're good at, and that I think would fit within the unit, because the unit, you know, in my mind really works when you have a guy who's good at one thing and you pair him with a guy who's good at something else, and the in between is really where the magic happens, like between a rocker and a jazzer, you know, and something happens between the two as they try to meet. And so that's always worked in the past, you know. And sometimes when because I write and record and then I put the band together, it seems to work better that way, because we're dealing with an entire catalog of music that really does span a lot of different styles. So in this particular case, my band, Kenny Aronoff on drums, Brian Beller on bass, and Ray on keyboards, you couldn't find more different people.
Yeah.
You add me into the mix, and it's just, you know, we're all so different, and yet when we get together and play, I know already from the recordings that there's magic. So I'm really looking forward to finally doing it live on stage.
That's awesome. Joe, our time's almost done, so I'm just going to squeeze a final question in, but thank you so much. You've been releasing some very short videos describing some of the songs and some of the back end work, I guess, of the new album. You're holding an interesting guitar. It's not the signature JS, but it's almost got some of the old 540 vibes. Is that
yeah, I don't have it. It's not here in the room at the moment, but I'm working with Ibanez on a guitar that is a 22 fret guitar that looks like a JS1. It is basically a JS1, but it has two single coils, two Satch tracks, and a saturate in the bridge position. It's got a very unique 3 mini switch system that gives you just more flexibility with the tones. And it's got this unbelievable gold chrome finish. It is so beautiful that I mean, you wouldn't be able to really tell the color correctly over, you know, Zoom.
Yeah.
And I believe that we are on track to release it in June.
Okay.
So that's but what I'm holding in those videos was the original prototype.
Nice.
If you can believe it, from 1989. I used that guitar in the Big Bad Moon video.
No way. That's the best.
Which is a video from the Flying in a Blue Dream album.
Yeah.
That's how old it is. And that guitar got ruined by that video shoot. But it doesn't look too good up close. But the idea of it was something I never let go of. And the guys at Hoshino finally figured out how to do a gold-tinted chrome finish. And so that's what's coming out this year.
That's awesome. Joe, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you so much for the years of inspiration and the great music. And all the best for the Elephants of Mars, and hope to see you back here in Australia soon. Thank you very much. All right, there you go. Joe Satriani on episode 200 of the Guitar Speak podcast. Good times. I feel like I could have talked to Satch all day. That said, I'm super grateful for the 20-minute window that was arranged amongst a whole bunch of other press that Joe was doing on the weekend launch of that album. My thanks to Fretboard Biology, who've been sponsoring the show since late 2020. Really appreciate Joe and the team there. And a huge thank you to everyone who's tuned in somewhere along the way of these last 6 years. There's lots of great stuff to come as well. Andy Timmons, Dave Leslie, Rob Balducci, all those interviews coming up. Spoke to Guthrie Govan and David Aegis over the last couple of weeks as well, plus another 190 odd other episodes you can check out. All right, I'm out of here. My name's Matt Wakeling. You've been listening to the Guitar Speak podcast. And in the words of Michael Schenker,
keep rocking, keep on rocking.
Keep on rocking, indeed. I'll catch you next time. Bye now.